Good afternoon from the kitchen, folks. Today I'm going to attempt to make a sparkling wine from nasturtium leaves. Here's a few of those, just picked from my garden, and I've got plenty more to add to these. So as you can see in the front garden, I've got plenty more nasturtium leaves to go on. And picking these leaves means that the sun will get through to the other flowers. So that's what I already had, and that's what I've just picked. I've no idea of the weight, but it does feel quite weighty. I think that should be enough though. So here's my big gallon pot. I'm just going to add all my leaves into this pot now. I visually inspected them as I picked them. I didn't notice any bugs or eggs. There might be some. All adds to the flavour, doesn't it? So I'm now going to add about 2/3 of a gallon of spring water, probably about 3.5 to 4 litres. I'm going to pop the lid on. So I've got my 4 litres of spring water in the pot. I'm going to put the heat on very low so the spring water simmers the leaves and breaks them down. So I'll come back to this in a little while. We just have a nasturtium leaf update. Quite a pungent smell coming off them now. I'm not sure if I like the smell or not, to be honest. Anyway, I've committed myself to this now, so I'm going to carry on. If it's awful, I'll put it through the air still and make a spirit off it. So an update on the nasturtium leaf tea. The leaves are now going to stew overnight, and I'm going to come back to that tomorrow and we'll pick this recipe up from there. So I'll see you then. So it's the morning after, and here is my nasturtium leaf tea. Just giving it a mash with a potato masher. Actually doesn't smell quite as pungent this morning. Anyway, this is steeped overnight. I've got enough flavours out of the leaves now, so I'm going to add them into a demijohn through a sieve. So here goes. Nice and green, as you'd expect. So I think I'm just going to use my hand here. It's clean. And I'm just going to press these leaves with a potato masher to get the juices out. I'm not trying to push the leaf fibres through the sieve, I just want to squeeze the water out basically. So that's one compressed lump of nasturtium leaves. I've got more left to do. This is not going to get wasted, it will make garden compost, so it will be reused for the good of the garden. And this is my nasturtium leaf tea. Now I need to add to this by making some more tea to add some tannins. I've got 4 tea bags in my big pot, and I'm just going to add the rest of this water bottle, so there's about 1 litre of water going in there. And I'm going to put the heat on, and I'm going to make a pan of tea. So my tea is now stewing. So here's my brewing sugar. As you can see, I bought a sack load. It was much more economical. And each one of these holds about 332. So 3 of these pretty much is a kilo. And there we go, 1 kilo and 34 grams, that will do nicely. So I'm just removing my tea bags from the pan, giving them a squeeze and get all the juice out. So they've done their job now, they've added some tannin which will give the wine a bit more body. I'm now going to add the brewing sugar into the tea, and I want to dissolve it. Next, I've got 1 lemon. Handy little tip, I want to juice this, but if you go like this first, it just loosens it a little bit inside and makes it easier to juice. So I'm just going to half my lemon, and with my juicer, I'm just going to squeeze it down and extract all the juices out of this. So I'm getting the flavours and I'm getting the vitamin C, which is all good for the wine must. So the net result of that is a nice little bit of lemon juice. I've turned the heat off the pan now, and I'm just going to add the lemon juice. So we've got a strong sweet lemon tea. The next ingredient you're going to think is bizarre, but I'm going to add a little bit of tomato puree. Now why I'm adding this is that there's not a lot of nutrient for the yeast in the mixture that I've made so far, apart from the sugar, and this will just give it something a bit more substantial to feed on. So I'm going to add about a quarter of this tube, and I've brewed with tomato paste before to make a wash to go through an air still, so I know it works just fine, and it doesn't leave any tomatoey taste at all. It actually just tastes like a dry white wine when you make wine with it. So that's enough. Now I just want to stir this in so the tomato paste breaks up and doesn't stay in those worms. Instead of tomato paste, if you just wanted to put yeast nutrient in, you could do that, but this will serve the same purpose and it's a lot cheaper. So here's my sweet lemon and tomato tea. I'm now going to pour through the funnel into the demijohn the sweet lemon and tomato tea. So as you can see, I've overfilled my demijohn. I don't care, I can use a blow-off pipe if it erupts. But what I'm going to do now is pour some of this into my hydrometer jar, and then I'll be able to take the gravity once it's cooled down. It's too warm at the minute to do that. So I've lost just over 100 ml, but that's fine. It makes a little bit of space in the top of the demijohn, so I don't worry about that. I'm not putting it back in case of cross-contamination. I need to let this cool to 20 degrees before I can take the original gravity. In the meantime, it's time for the yeast to meet the must for the magic to happen. So I'm using Lalvin EC1118 champagne sparkling wine and cider yeast, and I'm going to add to this just over a teaspoon. So 1 rounded teaspoon, and then about 1/3 of a teaspoon. This will activate quickly. I'll probably start to see bubbles in the airlock within 20 minutes. There's warmth, there's nutrients, and there's lots and lots of sugar. Everything that yeast needs to make alcohol. And just a very quick update from the airlock. You can see that CO2 is already being produced, and it hasn't even been 5 minutes. The wine must has now cooled to 20 degrees, so I'm going to add the hydrometer to get the original gravity. And it's looking quite healthy. And I'm starting off with an original gravity of 1.074, 1074. So that's my demijohn labelled, and you can see it's fermenting nicely already. This has only been an hour since the last segment of film. Got a little krausen, but nothing dramatic. I don't think this is going to blow through the airlock. I'm quite confident of that. So the next film you see will be when fermentation is over, and that will either be clearing or bottling. So I'll catch you then. Good afternoon from the kitchen, folks. It's my Nasturtium Leaf Wine bottling day. Yep, bottling, not clearing, because just look at the absolutely stunning colour of that. Looks beautiful. It's been in there now for 7 weeks. It's completely stopped fermenting and it's completely cleared. So today I'm going to be bottling, and I've got a variety of bottles now just draining off. So before I can begin bottling, I need to prime the bottles with sugar so that the wine carbonates and becomes sparkling. So in the big 750ml, this is a very generous heaped teaspoon. And then in the smaller bottles, I need to do proportionately less. So this is for the 500ml, about 2/3, and so on. It's bung out. Siphoning tube in. I'm holding the tube in place with the clip. The bottom of the tube is just into the sediment, but the first bit that comes out is going into the hydrometer jar. So let's rock and roll. And the sludgy bit in there. and now it's come clear, so that's good. So it's a lovely colour. I really do like the colour. No hugely strong smell yet. And as you can see in the 750ml bottle, I have managed to get some sediment in, but it doesn't matter, it will sink to the bottom. So before I go any further, I'm just going to take the final gravity. And that has sank very nicely. And I am looking at a final gravity of 0.994. Okay, so I need to work out the final alcohol by volume for my Nasturtium Leaf wine. So I take the original gravity of 1.074. I deduct from that the final gravity of 0.994, and that equals 0.08, and then I multiply this by 131.25, and this gives me a final alcohol by volume of 10.5%, which is a nice percentage for wine. Happy with that. Okay, I've got 3 different kind of bottles now which I need to seal. I've got the flips, I've got the ones which are champagne style which require bungs, and then I've got the ones which need crown capping. So the flip bottles is nice and easy. Just put that on, pull that down, Bob's your uncle. So these are a wonderful invention. I wish all bottles were as straightforward and simple as this. And they work really well, and they work for ages before the seal starts to go. And you can just buy new seals if it does. So that's the 3 flips done. They were the easy ones. I'm now going to do the ones that require the bungs pushing in. I usually soften these first. Ow. And I've normally started wearing a glove because that hurts, but never mind. I've done neither today, but I will get these in. There we go. So my 3 bungs are in, and I need to get these caged. And the cages are necessary because once the bit of yeast which is suspended in these bottles eats the priming sugar which I put in there, it will create CO2, it will create pressure, and if I don't put the cages on, pop. Don't drop them. So, cages in place. So I'm crown capping with the Space Invader. I don't like this thing at all. I am going to invest in a bench capper at some point, I promise. I just don't tend to use that many of these sorts of bottles yet. But all that could change. Particularly if I end up brewing larger amounts of beer, which is looking like it could happen. Right, that's actually capped really nicely. So that's good. There's one. Let's have a look. It'll do. Right, done. Okay, my next job is a simple one. I just want to rinse all my bottles off, get the sticky residue from them before labelling. I've got my labels made up in a simple Microsoft Word template. I'm just going to print these off. Okay, I'm just going to label my wines. Got them printed out. And I want to make them look nice and professional. Do it nice and neatly. And there they all are, my mishmash of bottles for my Nasturtium Leaf sparkling wine. Welcome to the conditioning room, folks. This is where my wine will be now for the next month. So it's down there on the bottom shelf. I've got ciders to the left, ciders to the right, wine in the middle. It will stay on these shelves for a month before I open it, and that will allow the yeast enough time to eat the sugar, build the pressure, make the sparkle. It will also clean the flavour and clear the wine a bit more. The shelves are currently at 21. If they drop below 19, then a thermostat kicks in and it puts the heater on behind the shelves. That won't happen though, because it's summer. So I will be back to open and sample these in a month's time. So I'll catch you in early September 21. See you then. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. It's my Nasturtium Leaf sparkling wine opening night. I've got no idea what I'm going to expect with this one. Is it going to taste awful? Is it going to taste all right? Am I going to get a sparkle? Am I going to get clarity? I just don't know. I'm hoping that it's going to taste all right, but worst case scenario, if it's awful, it'll be going in the air still. Anyway, let's see. So am I going to get any kind of life in this? Am I going to get a pop when I open it? I can see that the bung has raised by a minuscule amount, maybe half a mil. That's an encouraging sign that carbonation might have happened. Am I going to get a pop? Oh, I got a pop, and I got vapour, and I've got a rush of bubbles. That's nice. Happy so far. Okay, how does it look? Beautiful. Actually looks like a sparkling cider. What a beautiful colour that is in the evening sunshine. It smells very, I can't think of the word. Slightly oaky, maybe? Well, it doesn't taste as awful as the leaf smells when I was picking them. It's got it's a medium dry. It's not dry, it's a medium dry. It's got a very unusual flavour, but not an unpleasant one. It's got an oakiness to it, absolutely it does. I can't put my finger on the flavour. If you'd asked me to drink this blind, I would have not had a clue what it was. I might have even guessed pumpkin or something like that. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's not my favourite flavoured wine I've ever made, but it's certainly not awful, and I'll be able to drink it, so that's a bonus. So cheers, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the film, and I'll catch you on the next brew. The film that you've just watched is a Moss Home & Garden production. You can find more by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. I'd just like to say thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel and for watching my films. It really is very much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to receive future updates about the home and garden films which I upload. You can find my YouTube channel by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. Please click on the red subscribe button. When you've done that, a little bell will appear. If you press that also, then you'll get future updates about the films which I upload. If you like my films, if you like my style of filming, then you might also like my travel channel, which you will find by going to youtube.com/Stuart Moss or type in www.mosstravel.tv. Again, if you could subscribe to that channel, it would be hugely appreciated. If you'd like to get Moss Home & Garden updates on Facebook, then please open Facebook and do a search for Moss Home & Garden, and you will find the page. If you like the page, then you will get future updates on there. And if you'd like to connect on Instagram for home, garden and travel photography, as well as some stories, then my username is StuMoss, STUMOSS. If you'd like to connect on Twitter, then my username is @StuartMoss. And if you'd like to contact me about film usage or any other issue, please just email me on stewmosshomegarden@gmail.com. Once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel, for watching my films. I do appreciate it. I'd just like you all to have a great day.